Hey guys, this is a combined cello lesson for Yellow Submarine of both the Cello 1 and Cello 2 parts. There's a fair amount of overlap in these two parts, so we will look at them together, and you should also learn to play both parts. So let's go right from the beginning. The very first thing we notice on the page is that there is a quarter rest sitting out there by itself. That is a pickup rest. It's a note that's going to happen, or notes that are going to happen, but it's not in our part. So we have to wait for those. If you remember how this song goes, that's in the violin part. So they have 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we're together on that downbeat. So when we're playing this, we would count it off 1, 2, 3. Violins play on 4 and. Cellos come in on the downbeat of one of that first full measure. So 1, 2, 3, and then we would have our D there. So just remember that. You have to hear those first two notes, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1. We're together from there on. All right, let's look at this section from the opening of measure 1, where we come in, up to letter A. This is a combined part. Both cello 1 and 2 have the same things here. So the challenge here is the fact that we have a very long section, basically 16 measures, of dotted half notes, which are 3 beats, quarter notes that are 1 beat. That's an uneven rhythm, which would in many times tend to make our bowing difficult. There's a trick here for this one that I'm going to show you about how to not run out of bow. So we know we're going to be using a long bow on these dotted half notes. 1, 2, 3. So I'm way out there. 1, 2, 3. I've used almost to my tip. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Now, if you were watching my bow closely, you will see that I actually lifted my bow off the string before I was at the end of that dotted half note and came back so that I could play a short bow, a short up bow on the quarter note. The reason I can lift my bow off and do that and get back closer to the frog for that short up bow is each of these long notes is an open string. We have open D, open G, open A, open D for that 4-bar figure. That means that note will ring after I take my bow off. Hear it ringing? I can use that to my advantage to get back to the frog. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. It's still ringing. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. So really I'm playing, rather than playing 3 full beats with that bow on the string and then trying to recover like that, which will make an unpleasant accent on that 4th beat, I'm using those open strings. I'm really playing up to the 3rd beat, maybe slightly into it, but then taking my bow off the string, letting that note ring. 1, 2, 3, recover. 1, 2, 3, and back. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. So that's the long note. Long, ringing, recovering, up bow. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1. Let's talk about the short note, the quarter note with the staccato on it. I'm not playing that on the string. I'm coming off the string. We could play it on the string. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. But we're apt to get this kind of sound, which is not very nice compared to this. That's a good staccato short sound, but it has bite to it, but it doesn't go crunch like that, which we get when we stay on the string. So slow motion for those notes. Those are up bows. I'm close to the frog. I'm playing that note almost like I'm picking it with a pick or a pizzicato. It's like a bowed pizzicato. So the bow's on the string to start the note. I play it, and my bow comes off. The attack is what we want. That's our staccato. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2. Just keeps going over and over. 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Hear it ringing. 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And now we're at the measure before letter A. So that's the opening section. That's all the technique that we have to worry about there. The notes are very easy. We're using open strings, fourth finger on the G, and first finger on the D. That's it. D, G4, G, D1, A, G4, D, G, D. So only two fingered notes, the fourth finger on the G and the first finger on the D, and the rest are open strings. It's all about bowing technique there. Make sure also that you're careful when you do your string crossings. So when I come off, I'm on the G string, not the D string. Now I'm on the D string, G string. So watch out for those and be careful. Okay, that's the first 16 bars. Now we have letter A, the section from A to B. This is where the piece divides into two cello parts. We have the bass line, which rocks along like this. That's the bottom part. And then we have the top cello line, which is one of the vocal harmonies. That's a lyric. We all live in a yellow submarine. You can think about those the words when you're playing, and it actually helps you play them. So let's talk about a technique that both parts will need here. It's more in the upper part, but it's in the lower part also, and that is uneven or swing eighth notes. So instead of having what we call straight eighth notes, where our normal eighth notes, where the quarter note is subdivided into two even eighth notes, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and when we're first starting out in music, we might learn that as birdie. Birdie, 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 birdie. Each eighth note is exactly half the beat. That's not how we play this kind of music. In this piece, the eighth notes are swung. So they're uneven eighth notes. That means the first eighth note is long and the second eighth note is short. So we get a feeling like this. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and long. Now when I say short, I don't mean short staccato. I mean short in terms of how much of the quarter note that it gets, because I'm playing that whole thing on the string. It's their legato. Oops. Hear it? Long, short, long, short, long, short, long. This is not a specific length. We don't notate it as a specific subdivision. It depends on the speed of the piece. It depends on the style of music. This is a fairly gentle swing. It's really a triplet. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1. You can hear that that's how we're really dividing it. The long eighth note is getting 2/3 of that beat, and the short eighth note is getting 1/3. So triplet, 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 one, da, 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 triplet, triplet, trip. But depending on what kind of music you were playing, particular kinds of jazz or another form of music, that swing might be a little less. So they might be closer to even, or it might be what they call a hard swing, where it's almost a dotted eighth sixteenth. But this is kind of a lazy, gentle, triplety swing. So we just have that feel. You can just play that. Now, one of the things you're going to hear is that it's pretty easy for that up bow note to kind of punch out. That's okay in this style of music. If we're playing a classical song, we would try to get rid of that, or we would even hook our bowing to get rid of that punch on the up bow. But in this style of music, that punch is okay. And in fact, it sounds weird if we use the hook. It sounds too classical. It doesn't have enough drive, it doesn't have enough accent. And so that's how we do that swing. In the bottom part, and you have those two figures. And so you don't have as much of it in the bottom part. We'll talk about the bottom part in a second. So let's look together now at the top line, now that we've got our swing bowing going. So the lyric here, we all live in a yellow submarine, yellow submarine, yellow submarine. That's all it is. You can feel how to do the accents if you think the words in your head. Now, one of the things that happens here is that our bow gets reversed when we get to the end of the first bar of A. We're fine, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. Still an uneven swing rhythm, but it's up, down, up, down, up. We should be able to do this both ways. We practiced before, down, up, down, up, down, down, up, down, up, down. We can also go up, down, up, down, up, up, down, up, down, up, up, down, up, down, up. Either way, we need to be able to play, because it's not always convenient to retake your bow or hook your bow to get back to a down, up, down, up, down. So right here, slowly, we have 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. Rest. Rest. Now on each one of these rests, or I should say the rest of the third bar and the fourth bar, I am actually doing a retake so that I'm starting down bow. I don't need it on the first one. Up, down, up, rest, down, lift, down, up, down, lift. Up, down, up, rest, down, up, down, lift, down, up, down. The hardest thing in this section for the cello 1 part is the measure at 20 and the measure before B, where we have this figure. We're starting with 4 on the D string, 4, 4D, then we have to go down to G3 and back to D1. So 2 string crossings in quick succession. D, G3, D1. And so I'm pretty close to the frog. And I'm doing just a small string crossing here, not a big dramatic string crossing. Trying to make that pivot, just pivot. So practice that carefully. All right, let's talk about the bottom part here. at letter A. And actually for the bottom part, we have to start for the cello 2 part, we need to start for the bar before letter A, because you have a partial scale leading into A. 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 1. So right away you get the uneven rhythm, except you have a rest in there. 1, 2, rest, and 4, and 1. 1, 2, rest, and 4, and 1. And it's just a scale coming down. D, 2, 3, 4, 3, 1, 0. 1, 2, rest, 4, 3, 1, 0. So you can work on that little scale coming in. But the technique for the cello 2 part is staccato quarter notes. And these are off the string staccatos. They're not... That doesn't sound good, it doesn't sound right. These need to ring after the attack. So I'm just playing a nice short note, and then the bow is immediately coming off the string so that it rings. So the trick here, short staccatos, off the string, and tons of string crossings. G, 3, open D, back to G3, back to open D, back to G1, back to D, back to A, D, G1, D, A, D4. Finally we're on the D string for a bar. So we have, let me count them here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 string crossings in a row in this section. So you really have to be aware of what string you're playing on, both with your left hand and your right hand. Otherwise it'll be a mess. We'll just get all sorts of noise. So practice this slowly. Always aware of what string we're on. Kind of similar. Descending scale. And it goes on like the beginning. Let's talk about the descending figure, the swung figure in bar 20. So this is not notated on the part, it's just something that I'm doing stylistically. When I get to those notes, we're on the D string, 4, 1, D, G3, G. I'm playing a short note, staccato on the first eighth, on the string, short, on the string, short. They're not all staccato. I could do that. It sounds okay, but I think it sounds better to go short, long, short, long, short. So the first eighth note staccato. Now I'm on the string. That D is staccato on the string, and a staccato, a G down there. So as I come into it, it sounds like this. Short. And I'll do it again, coming up right here. Short, short. So staccato on the string. So the funny thing is here that the bowing and the note length are reversed. So on the long eighth note, we're using a staccato, and on the short eighth note, we're using a legato on the string bowing. That actually makes sense because we stay on the string for that really short rhythmic note. So. And that is the technique for letter A to letter B. Okay, so just quickly now, letter B is exactly the same as the beginning for the first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 bars. Nothing really to deal with there. 2, 3, 2, 3, 2, 3, 2, 3, 2, 3, 2, 3. Changes here. cello 1 part there at the end that changes. The cello 2 part, your part stays pretty similar to what you have before letter A. So we have our long bow for the dotted quarter or dotted half, the short staccato quarter. At bar 31 in the cello 1 part, this is what we have to get through. And we can do that without any fancy bowing. It does get reversed, but then it works itself out. D, 1, 3, 4, 3, 1, D, 1, 2. And I'm doing that thing again that I did in the cello 2 part in letter A. Staccato on the string, staccato on the string. And then you're right back to the exact same thing that you had at letter A, as here at letter C. So cello 1 part, again from measure 31. That's what you have. Then cello 2 part from measure 31, you're just doing this. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. Now you can do a little retake in there, or you can fix the bowing at letter C. Up, down, up, down, up, up. And then work your way back. Just do 2 ups in a row there and work your way. Either one matters. You don't want to just be permanently in a reversed bowing at that section, but you can start there you can fix it at C. Up, down, up, down, up, up, down, up, and then you're fine from there on. So little things like that we sometimes have to adjust in pieces just to make our bowing more comfortable. That takes us through all the way through almost to letter D. There's a little change at the very end of letter C in the cello 2 part. Just that, going up the arpeggio. Okay, I think that's good for this lesson. We'll pick up there in the next lesson, and we'll do the end of letter C, and then we'll do the section at D, which is different, has some different articulations, and then we'll go to the end. All right, practice hard.